Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Partnerships for Profit. I'm your host, Ana Del Rio, and this week we're joined by Tobin Lay of Mediation Center. Tobin is a qualified neutral mediator and law school professor who has helped resolve conflicts in family, organizations, and even city governments, all while training future leaders in negotiation and conflict management. We'll explore why conflict can actually fuel growth, the biggest myths about mediation, and how anyone can use these tools to improve both business and personal relationships. Welcome to the show, Tobin. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm good.
Awesome. I'm really intrigued actually by your arena here. Give us a 2-minute synopsis of, your background, where you're coming from, and, what you feel like people should know about you.
Okay. So I guess trying to think what's important for people to know. I've really had a full life. I didn't actually go back to school and really buckle down academically until I was in my 30s. So I just kind of explored the world and did different business ideas. And then once I got back into academia and finished my undergrad and then went on to law school, that really opened up new doors to me and introduced mediation and conflict resolution and awakened new passions in me that I didn't know I had. And really colored my life even more.
I love that. Okay, so tell me a little bit more of what actually led you to mediation and how did you come to lead the Mediation Center?
Okay, great. Thank you. So I think like most people, I didn't really think about mediation, what it was. I'd heard of the term mediation, but didn't really ever go beyond that until I found myself in court myself. Most people find themselves in that situation, and the judge asks, "Have you mediated?" And you look at each other, and you're like,
"What?
No, what is mediation?" So that was definitely the case with me. So I went through a really bad divorce. We were required to mediate. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't know even who to use, or that there were different styles of mediation, and just went to the first place we could find, had a terrible experience. It really turned me off to the whole concept of mediation. I wanted nothing to do with it. Until I got into law school and was reintroduced to the concept. Realized that there were different methods and that it really did offer the best avenue for people in conflict to have control over their own solutions instead of someone else determining the solution for them.
That makes a lot of sense, especially, going through that, because I've been in that, situation, unfortunately, as myself. And luckily, I wasn't necessarily needing the mediation, but I can definitely see at what point that it would be, important, and like necessary. So you mentioned not knowing really what it was. So tell our listeners, tell our viewers, somebody that wouldn't truly understand it, you were, when someone asks what exactly is mediation, how do you explain that?
Great question. Really, to boil it down, it's nothing more than negotiation. There's a lot of misconceptions about what mediation is, but really, if you take it at its finest definition, it's a facilitated negotiation.
Okay.
If you look at conflict on a scale of, if you look at a scale with one side having complete control over your outcome of the conflict and the other side having zero control, on one side where you have full control would be negotiation. And on the other side where you have zero control, that would be litigation, like in a courtroom. The judge decides for you, right? Okay. Mediation would be one step away from negotiation. You do lose some control, but only in the process. You get to choose the mediator. You're still choosing the outcome, the settlement, but the mediator might decide what topics you're talking about. So some of the procedural things, but they're very minimal. For the most part, the parties have control over their negotiation.
Oh, that's good. And you're Switzerland. So basically you're that peacemaker, that person that kind of keeps the conversation going where it needs to go, keeps them focused. Hey, this is what we need to focus on. Let's talk about this and come up with a resolution that way. Oh, that's
right.
Yeah, I could definitely see how that is needed. So I noticed that you've mediated everything from family disputes all the way to city government conflicts. What surprising lesson would you say connects these very different arenas?
Yeah, so actually, it doesn't matter what the conflict is. It really boils down, the root of the conflict really boils down to a communication problem, right?
Very common issue.
The parties just aren't able to hear what each other's saying is usually what it comes down to. Not always, but in most cases. And so just learning those communication tools and being able to help the parties learn to hear each other can be used universally in every setting.
In everything, every walk, like every avenue of life, just in general. So communication is extremely important. Definitely.
Yes. Right.
Oh man. So tell me, how would you say like mediation is evolving in today's like workplace and communities, and why does it matter more now than ever?
Well, one positive thing that I'm seeing is that more people are becoming aware of mediation. And so there is this awareness amongst professionals, at least, to learn what these skills are and a desire to implement these skills into their work life. So a lot of what we do in Mediation Center is training, and it's gotten to the point where half of our students are from other professions that aren't even looking to become mediators. They just want to learn how to deal with conflict. Nobody's free from conflict today.
Everybody could be driving down the road and you know the whole exactly. Oh my goodness. And everything really. So you talk about training. So, and you said that you can get like clients from any profession, say, but who would you say would benefit most from like the mediation training, and like what kind of practical skills would you say that they walk away with?
Okay, so actually anyone could benefit. Whoever deals with conflict on a regular basis, I think might be able to justify the cost of learning the skills more than others. But even these skills could improve your life at home in a family setting.
Yeah,
right. So it doesn't even have to be a professional setting, but we see every profession come in. Obviously, lawyers, judges, which used to be the main participants, to school teachers, school administrators, law enforcement, so police officers, therapists, clergy, and we've even had a bartender take the course. So anyone that deals with conflict.
All walks of life.
Right.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so if more people had mediation skills, how do you think our world would look? Like, would it be more different?
Absolutely. So I think part of answering this question is to maybe talk a little bit more about what skills you learn in mediation, and we can get into
Tell us.
No,
tell us now.
One of the benefits, or one of the skills that we teach in mediation, is how to hear what the parties are really saying, get behind their why, or get behind their statement. So I think in Western societies, at least, we've lost the ability to think about our motivations behind what we want. And when we just get hung up on the statement, our demand, right? And so one of the skills is being able to hear and ask the right questions to get beneath the statement. Why do you want this, right? And then once you hear the interests, then being able to identify the issues, the real issues that both parties have separately, and then finding out where those issues overlap. So the mutual interests that the parties can work on together. And then being able to frame what they're saying in a way that you kind of take the poison out of the statements so that they can start to hear each other and not just build up their walls immediately, right? And just once you have that ability to uncover their interests, it changes the whole picture, right? You might think that you're dealing with one thing when you come into the mediation, but once you uncover what their true interests are, the picture of the solutions can completely change. So one example that is really famous in the profession was introduced by a famous book, Getting to Yes by Fisher and Urey, two Harvard professors. So it's a negotiation book that's based on interest negotiations. The story is about two sisters that are arguing over the last orange in the kitchen. They both must have this orange, and it's the last one. The mother comes in the room, wants peace, and does the logical thing. They cut the orange in half. Both sisters get half of the orange. It's equitable, right? Completely fair. One sister only needed the peel, so she peeled off the orange, threw the orange away, used the peel for a zest in something she was baking. The other sister only wanted the meat, so she peeled it, threw the peel away, and ate half of an orange. If the mother had just asked a few more questions about behind their statements, why did they want the orange? Both sisters could have got 100% of what they wanted, and there wouldn't have been any waste, right? So I know it's a simple story, but I think it really states the picture of the benefits of mediation skills. Now imagine, going to your earlier question, how does the world benefit from that? Imagine if that was just a default skill that people had.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
I don't know what that world would look like, but it would.
It would be far different than what it is today.
Yes, right? It really would be. Wow. That is a really good story that you would bring up, and a good, I think, analogy or depiction, or, for us to truly understand what mediation. I mean, you would think that it would be just, self-explanatory, but not necessarily. You know what I mean? So thank you so much for sharing that and painting that picture for us. So you told us about, you referenced the book, but I'm curious about any kind of stories that you might have, something that kind of sticks in your mind that was a success, or even not so much as success, but may have may just be a good story for us to hear on one of your, cases that you've been on. Tell us something, something good. What do you got? What do you remember?
So, I mean, there's really the story is the same in so many cases. The parties come in with not even understanding what they really want out of the conversation as well. They know that they have these positions. And just by going through the process, once they realize that the other party has what their true motivation is behind what they're demanding, then the humanity comes back in the room. So something that's really common that I see is that people, and actually this is a psychological effect. People in conflict tend to demonize the other party. They take the human out of this situation. And this is actually a tactic in war, right? If you can paint the opponent as less than human, then it's easier to kill them. Right? And it's a natural instinct when we're in conflict. And if you can bring that humanity back into the room, and that happens through talking about the underlying interests, asking the right questions, and having the parties together so that they can hear each other, then that allows that humanity to come back into the situation. And that opens the door to empathy. And once you have that empathy, then really the sky becomes the limit. And that doesn't mean that they'll reach a settlement. Maybe they won't. In some cases, they won't. But even in those cases, when they walk away from the situation, even if it's unresolved, they see their opponent differently, and it does resolve some of the concern. So I think that's the piece that I really enjoy most about all of the cases that I can think of, is just seeing that moment when that spark of understanding, you can actually see that spark of understanding in their eyes when they realize, oh, that person's just a person.
They're human again.
Yeah. Then that willingness to negotiate comes back, and people just start to collaborate. In most cases, not in all cases. But I mean, I'm thinking of one case that happened recently between a father and a daughter that were just negotiating over whether to. They had lived together as roommates, shared the home, and then had a conflict that had separated them and left them estranged for several years, right?
Oh man.
And the daughter wanted to reconnect with her father, and well, the father did too, but the daughter didn't want to consider a relationship with the father again until they had at least gone through mediation. So at least she was aware, right? It's really good.
At least that is really good.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about, like, these rewarding factors. So it seems very fulfilling, from that perspective, especially when you see them get it, that whole ding, in their eyes. But what would you say has been the most challenging, about your work and to be honest, like both with being a mediator as well as a teacher?
Yeah, great. It is challenging work. Parties in conflict aren't comfortable with the conflict. They don't want to engage. It's hard. So it's easy as a mediator to work harder than the parties sometimes.
I can see that.
So if you're aware of that and you can coach the parties into putting in the effort, then once they do, the benefits we've talked about start to come in, and it gets easier. But that initially, that's one of the hard things, is getting the parties to engage, to let down their guard a little bit, and to hear each other. Sometimes that might require separating the parties and talking to them separately, and then bringing them back together. It takes a lot of reframing what's being said, right? Taking the poison out that we talked about.
Yeah.
So that is a challenge. Another challenge, I would say, in the profession is that there is a trend towards having the parties separate completely, never having them together.
Okay.
And certainly there's a reason for doing that. There's a time to do that, and it's actually a tool that mediators use called caucus.
Okay.
But I think that takes the humanity, or that at least eliminates the ability to bring the humanity back into the room. And going back to the definition of mediation, right, where it's a negotiation. I mean, there are times when you negotiate through email or phone or text or something like that. So there's times when that can work. But think about a situation where you're negotiating something very important. Are you going to do that in email, or are you going to fly across the world and do that face to face? Right.
There's nothing comparable to doing it face to face versus, you got that person and what's the word I'm looking for? The human aspect of it, I imagine.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a challenge that we resist in training with, especially like legal professionals, lawyers, judges that come into the room that are used to only having the parties separate. And it takes usually 2-3 days before they, having tried the simulations of the mediated simulated mediations where they have the parties in joint session, where that light kind of turns on and they see the benefit of having the parties together. But I really just urge people to think about that meaning of mediation. If you look at it as a negotiation, then it makes sense.
It does.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that statement. Because, we think that we know what it is, but there's a lot more involved in it than we're actually, thinking about. So great information there. Now, tell me, how can people find you? Like, where can they find you and your services?
So we do offer trainings online. Some person in Minnesota. We're in Roseville, Minnesota.
Nice.
But most of our trainings are virtual through Zoom, and we've offered them to people from as far away as Hawaii.
Nice.
To all across the continental United States. Haven't had anyone international yet, but you could.
Is that a market you're looking to get into as well internationally?
Not necessarily yet, but it's certainly something that you could do as well. So our website's one way. We are very active on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to get engaged with this, is on our page on LinkedIn. Good
deal. Well, I'm really excited that we actually had an opportunity to talk. There was a lot of great information. Really quickly, before we sign off here, I want to know, like, for anybody that is listening and watching today, if they could adopt one mediation skill tomorrow, which one would make the biggest impact and difference in their life?
I think it would be that shifting your paradigm to interest-based thinking.
Interest-based thinking.
Make your whole world different, right? If you could start seeing people's underlying interests rather than their statements, then everything changes. So Getting to Yes is a great book. I'd highly recommend it if you haven't read it. That can introduce skills for that, or you can take a course with us. But that one skill alone will change your life in every setting.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Tobin. And thank you everyone for watching on today's episode of Partnerships for Profit. And I'm signing off. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.